I'm Dr. Harrison Davis.
And I'm Dr. Aisha Dickerson.
And you're listening to Two Therapists and a Microphone.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Two Therapists and a Microphone. I'm Dr. Aisha Dickerson.
And I'm Dr. Harrison Davis.
And y'all are going to kind of see me on my phone because I'm getting a lot of messages about what we're talking about today.
What are we talking about today?
Originally we were talking about the issues that some people were having with for-profit universities, but I really don't think that the issue is for-profit universities. So we're going to talk about specifically Argosy University. And for those of you who are familiar with Argosy, you know that they shut down. But first, I'm going to explain what a for-profit university is, because some people are kind of confused about that, and if they're just out to get students' money. So let me say that everything that is a business makes money. Education is a business.
Yes, it is.
So that's whether or not you're at a state university, any university, they're going to be working on admitting students, they're going to be working on retaining students. But the difference between a for-profit university and a non-profit university is that a for-profit university is owned by a private business, usually. They don't get the same benefits that some nonprofit universities get, and therefore their tuition is usually higher. But some of the benefits for people who attend school there is that they get a chance that they may not be able to get at other schools. So,
and they often offer convenient schedules too.
Exactly. They are geared towards the working student. So whereas I went and got my PhD at Auburn, I love Auburn, I had to drive 2 hours one way to get to class. I also had to take this GRE and score higher than, a bunch of other people who applied. They only let in 7 people a year. They weren't flexible about the schedule. They weren't flexible about anything. But for Argosy, which now I loved working at Argosy. I left Alabama and moved to Georgia to work at Argosy. There were students who maybe didn't take the GRE, or they took it and didn't do well because they don't test well. And so rather than just look at their academics, even look at their transcripts, because a lot of people just kicked it in undergrad. So now they're doing they're doing well in life, and they want to go back to school, and people are looking at their transcript like, you can't get in because you kicked it really hard 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So at Argosy, we looked instead at what are you doing in the community? Have you been involved in the field? How do you answer these questions? Do you care about people? Do you care about diversity? And so these people were allowed to come and take maybe night classes, weekend classes, online classes, blended format classes, and sometimes they paid more money, but there was scholarships and stuff available. And most importantly, they got to work with people like me. So I'm saying all that to say that your professors at a for-profit university are usually, as far as I know, just as educated and involved as
working
your
professionals,
yes,
a true clinician.
Exactly, as your professors at state universities. We engaged in research also. We saw clients also.
But you have more worldly experience.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I am able to connect with my students in a different way than I was able to connect when I worked at a different state institution whose name I shall not name. I'm saying the state institution where I worked, I was not even full-time, but I was the only black person they had there, and I was their token black person. And when I left, even since I've left, there were 3 white professors, and in the last year they hired 3 more white professors. So there's a lack of diversity there, which I feel like I've seen a lot more diversity in some of the for-profit universities that I've worked with. So today we have a guest. I am going to tell you, I know there are people on Facebook who are waiting to hear my story about how things
I want to hear
at
your
Argosy.
story.
Oh, you're going to hear it too. You're going to hear things that maybe you haven't seen on the internet yet. I'm going to tell you exactly what it looks like. But first, I also want to allow a former student to tell how things went down for her. So today we have Whitney with us, Whitney Carter. And I still keep in touch with Whitney. Some of you all who are watching were my former students, and I keep in touch with y'all too. Want to make sure that you're still doing great things in the field and in your new schools. But Whitney was one of my doctoral students in the counselor education program. She was there while, they had us professors standing there like the Titanic playing the violin while the ship was going down. Giving students false information, not on purpose, but we were giving them the information that was given to us. She was one of those students who was not able to finish her degree because of the way that things were handled. So first, Whitney, before you tell us your experience, will you please introduce yourself, tell our listeners what you do. And you're still a clinician, you're still a wonderful clinician, and in addition to 100 other jobs that you kind of do on the side, she is a hustler. But I'm going to let her tell y'all all about that in a good way.
Okay, my name is Whitney Carter. I go by Whitney J because I have a blog, Whitney J Speaks. I am a writer for a couple of magazine publications, as well as I have my own personal podcast, which is His and Hers Uncensored, and we're on Apple, Google, and iHeartRadio, as well as Spotify. And you can follow us on social media at His and Hers _. Currently in the field, I am working with DeKalb Juvenile Court with their drug treatment program, as well as working at a behavioral health hospital as an assessment counselor.
Well, welcome to the show.
So, yes. And I'm a mom, so I have to let that know that's a whole nother job.
It is. I'm being a mom right now while we're here on the radio. It's a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so Whitney, I wanted to bring Whitney in also because she was in my class that I was still being forced to run during the end of Argosy. I think you all got credit for that.
We did.
I'm not sure, but I know for sure that I didn't get paid for it.
Oh,
But
wow.
we'll come back to that.
Okay.
So, Whitney, at what point were you at Argosy and it started looking like things were going downhill?
Okay, so I'll just go back to the beginning. I actually completed my master's there.
Okay.
I finished my master's in 2015, and I thought that was going to be it for me, but a little bit later I had a baby, and I decided, okay, I do want to maybe teach on the collegiate level, so I'm going to go back to school. Actually was interviewed by Dr. Dickerson to be accepted for admissions, and she was hard on me, but I got in.
No.
I got in. But
Well,
I
I'm glad
appreciated
you brought
it.
that up because some people think that we just let everybody in, and that was not the case.
You got to do more than show up.
Right. So she was there, and definitely it wasn't just question and answer. It was let me follow up to make sure you meant what you said. So I appreciate it because it was a challenge, but it allowed me, to express myself. So in the program, I had completed a year, and it started looking shaky when I came
What year was that?
2018.
18.
Okay.
So it was like the second semester of spring semester, so January. It started looking shaky.
What was shaky?
Well, we started seeing a lot of articles. The school didn't tell us anything initially.
Right.
We saw articles, and even my mom called me. And she was like, "Did you know your school is closing?" I'm like, "What you talking about? I'm here now." And she was like, "Well, it's all over the news. You might want to look into it." So, initially I was like, "This can't be true because I'm walking in the door right now." So, I'm continuing with classes. We're asking teachers. They're like, that's not what we heard. That's not what we're going, what the information that we're getting that they're under negotiations. So, of course, as a student, I continue to do my work, stressing over papers, continuing my dissertation research. I was in the part of picking and being more finite with my topic. And then it was, I remember the day that we got the information. It was, I think we went to school or logged in on a Monday, and they said, make sure you're here by Thursday and Friday to get your transcripts because we will be closing. And
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
okay. So I remember it was a classmate that went for a group of us because we were all working. We were like, how do we just get off to, come and pick up a transcript and this might be the end all be all forever? Are we going to get credit? fortunately, at the time, I didn't have any loans because I was there on scholarship. So it was their scholarship.
Okay.
So it was not my money lost. So
But not everybody was that
not
lucky.
everybody was fortunate. I know people who took out loans because they were not working.
Yeah.
So they took out loans to sustain as well as to pay for school, and they did not get that money. And for me, I really feel like for a very long time I was in a state of shock because it took a lot for me to even talk myself into going back to school, and then for you to just rip it away, no conversation, no explanation, nothing.
was
We just
abrupt.
very quickly don't come back after Friday. So I was like, I feel like I just got dumped and I don't get a
Yeah.
chance to talk to you about it. But
Yeah.
That's
you
what it
got
was.
dumped and your number got blocked.
number blocked, Facebook,
Don't try
Instagram.
to get back that money I loaned you.
Don't call
Forget
me.
your yeah.
Nothing. All your clothes and stuff, I threw that away. It was over.
So how did some of your classmates react to that news?
Everybody. I mean, we were like, me and my classmates. I have a group of young ladies who I'm very close with, who we were doing the doctoral program together. So we continue to video chat each other and check in by group me, challenging each other. Hey, let's make sure you get back in school. These are the schools that are accepting our credits. But that was a major thing that we had to think about. Like, wherever we're transferring, I was a year in. So it's like, I want you to take all of my credits. There were other classmates who were even further along who didn't have all their credits accepted. And that's like a major thing because I just did this. I just went through the papers. I just did this class. And you're telling me that everything that I put in, the grade, the stress, the long night, it's not going to be accepted. So now I have to do it all over again. So that was, with just research within itself, just finding a school that would accept what we had and then trying to make their deadlines. A lot of schools were accommodating and giving us an additional day to an additional admission date. So it was just specifically for Argosy students who were put out. So we did run into that, but a lot of, even now it's like we're still trying to grieve and heal from that because it was very abrupt, like no explanation. Like the news knew about it before we did.
Right. And I think that was one of the biggest things was when I heard about it, it was actually my ex-husband. Luckily, I have a good relationship with my ex-husband because this could have gone terribly wrong. But he sent the article like, hey, is everything okay? Is the school shutting down? Like, do y'all need some help? I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, mind your business. We're fine.
So the house is on fire. You're in the house, but everybody
Right,
else knows about
right.
it. But you in the house,
I'm
you don't even know
inside
it.
dying, and everybody, and he does business stuff. So he's getting these, this business information because, again, this is a big business. The school being owned by, it's not EDMC, it was Dream Center at the time.
Dream
'cause
Dream Center.
We had already been sold one time in the time that I was there. So for EDMC is Educational Management, I can't remember what it was, but Argosy, Art Institute, South University, and maybe a couple others were owned by EDMC when I started working at Argosy. AIU, okay. So I don't remember all of them, but about a year and a half into when I was there, we were purchased by Dream Center. I'm saying it that way because Dream Center,
Which is
was
a nonprofit.
a nonprofit, yes.
itself,
'Cause
yeah.
The thing was to try to change the universities from for-profit to nonprofit. And Dream Center, I think, was like this Pentecostal organization. They ran all these GED programs, and they wanted to buy these universities and help people go from GED to college. And they were telling
Nightmare
us,
center.
right, we were going to have to do all this service and I was like, okay, cool, I'll do service, especially if you want to send me to some of these Dream Centers overseas. That never happened. Instead,
But initially, when Argosy was purchased by Dream Center, it sounds like it was initially a good idea.
it was.
It sounded like a
we
good
were
idea.
all kind of
They sold
on
the dream.
board. Yeah, right. They
Sold the dream.
Dream Center sold the dream. The point was that we were going to be able to get all of these government benefits that other nonprofits get that we have not been able to historically benefit from as a for-profit university. And it was going to erase the stigma of being a for-profit university. Dream Center they had no idea what they were doing. Luckily they
No
did-
plan, no
they-
strategy.
Nothing.
I guess they were gonna pray about it, and Jesus was gonna.
And they
make it
just
work.
kept continuing to give dreams. I remember one of the dreams was, well, Argosy, Atlanta is one of the bigger campuses.
Right.
So you
That's what I
guys are
thought.
not going to be affected by this because you guys are bringing in more money. You had more tuition. So we're like, okay. It was just a roller coaster. Like you're there, you hear the news, you accept it. And then they bring it back down. Okay, no. Then we have another opportunity. Okay, no. So it was at some point, I honestly became numb to it, and I just feel like I was in autopilot. I'm gonna finish this work, and then I just won't be in school right now.
So here's a tough question. Was it Dream Center that caused the problems, or was it Argosy in the shape that it was in when it was purchased? Or do you know?
both.
Both, okay.
So EDMC told a lot of lies when they sold. It's like somebody sold you a house and you didn't realize that someone had been murdered in the basement.
Oh wow!
And that your next
the
door
roof is leaking.
Right, and that your next door neighbor is a drug dealer.
You don't have any air.
Yeah,
Okay.
all of that. Or it looks okay from the outside, but there's mold in the ceilings and you don't see it. But
Asbestos.
right, all of a sudden you have lung cancer.
Right.
Like that's what EDMC sold. Just a lie.
Even till the end, they kept on with the dream. Like, well, we have this investor, and if we can get him to do so
We
much,
had so many
then we'll
investors.
meet. I was just tired. At one point, I mean, the only reason that I think I stayed until the shit just totally went down is because they said that for credit recovery, it would be better to be there and the school closed than for you to have withdrawn.
Okay.
So I said, well, I'm going to just take what I can and figure it out.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with buying a company or a business that may not be in great shape. The question is, were they, the Dream Center, prepared to do what was needed? Did they put in the money and the time and the effort to reshape things?
Not only were they not prepared, but they brought in people, new board members, who apparently, so we learned later, already had a history of ruining other
Oh, wow.
for-profit
Oh, I didn't know that.
universities.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the guys was already, I can't remember if it was Capella or where he used to work, where he ended up losing a lot of money for them. He
Grand
got
Canyon?
maybe it was Grand Canyon. Yeah, like messed them up really bad and left there and went somewhere else and messed them up. And all that his resume said was, I have experience working with for-profit universities. And they were like, let's bring them on. And it also had to do, honestly, with a lot of white privilege. All these people knew each other, and they brought on the guys, two of the guys that own Dream Center, also own La Petite Academy. And, you know, all these rich white men, they know each other. So they
La
brought in their home.
Petite. I didn't really hear too many good things about them.
Well, you know what? Well, so La Petite had issues back in the day,
they
too. Remember?
did.
Yeah. Well, they were ruining babies' lives, and they were like,
Let's
that's
get their
enough
parents.
ruining babies. Let's ruin some grown folks.
The
Wow.
parents.
Right. So they were brought in to work with Dream Center. I mean, and they came in like everything's going to be so cool. We're going to be so much more laid back. They would come in their blue jeans and their bubble vests, not like when the EDMC people
Not
came
bubble
in.
vest.
Yes, the bubble vest. When EDMC execs used to come in, like the women would have on pantsuits and the men would have on whole suits. It was like, we're a business and we're going to do this and that.
So
And
they
these
were
men
laid
came
back.
in and they were like, we're cool and here's my personal email address and you just email me if you have any questions or, you know, just to talk to us and say hey, because we care about you.
Well, I would prefer the business.
Well,
So they made a lot of promises.
They did.
And they couldn't deliver it.
well, and they softened people up. You know, it was already going to be a transition, but I guess it was a whole psych thing by virtue of being laid back and looking like this isn't just about business. We don't just care about money. We care about people. It softened up everyone, you know, just kind of jump on board and like, yeah, well, not everyone didn't soften me up. At some point, a lot of us started looking for other jobs and people started looking for other schools. So as soon as EDMC sold the schools to Dream Center, a lot of campuses started closing down. So that was the next thing.
I remember that.
Argosy, Nashville, Argosy, everywhere else, about
The Rock,
five.
California.
Yeah.
Because we had a lot of students transplant
Exactly.
from, right,
Yeah. So you had in your class some students from Nashville.
Nashville.
And that was a whole other thing because they want to continue their degrees and graduate.
I don't blame them.
But clearly, some of them kind of seem to have some PTSD. They would be tearful in class. Yeah, really. They would cry in class.
Wow.
We would try to be as supportive as possible because I understood if my school was shut down in Nashville, I very well may have just started somewhere else because that was a 4-hour commute.
Absolutely.
That they had to make for weekend classes. They got to come for weekends, but that's still 4 hours you have to drive, and you have to pay for a hotel. And Dream Center was not helping pay for hotels. Some of them took the bus, but you could tell that they were tired. They were exhausted by the time they got there, but they did the best they could. So I really felt bad for them because one school had already shut down, and then you come to Argosy, Atlanta, and boom, you're there for maybe 2 semesters, and they shut down too.
So Whitney, what's been the impact on you?
Well, right now, I am exploring, like she said, hustling, exploring other avenues. I did take a year off, but my plan is to return to school in 2020.
Okay.
So I'll be applying for fall admission for 2020.
Okay.
But
What type of program?
I want to continue the counseling education and
Okay.
supervision. It was just an adjustment for me because it was like I rearranged my life
Yeah.
to be, still a mom, active mom, and to go to school and still work. So the not funny, I look back and I just have to be careful what I said, but I was at the point where I was like, God, I think I need a little bit of break. I wasn't expecting this break, but
Not this kind of break.
I think I'll be a little more specific next time, and I'll say I just maybe want to break from class, not the fact that whole school is gone, but you ask for and you get. So at that point, I took it as a break and let me do some readjusting,
Yeah.
and then I'll prepare to go back to school.
All right. Well, we will come back to this subject, talk to Whitney a little bit more, and then you get to hear my side of the story as professor. And let me tell you, it's a lot worse than you think it is. So keep listening. We will be back on Two Therapists and a Microphone.
Good J on the track, nigga. Hey, you already know. It's your boy, Lil Scrap. We finna have the whole motherfucking world rocking in this bitch. Make it shout. Check out how you get she rock her hips, then wave and sip. She rock her hips, then wave and sip. She rock her hips, she rock her hips, she rock her hips, then wave and sip. Hey,
Look at them hips. I like how she rock it. She bend that thing over into the ground. She gon' drop it and pop it hard as she can. Got me hard in the pants because she all in her stance doing her motherfucking dance, man. Look buddy cute in the face. She rock her hips to the bass. She take a sip when she wait and wanna get with Lil J after she dance on that pole. I pull my can so quick and fast when that ass hit the floor.
Now I got 32 flavors of that bootylicious bubble gum. Raspberry, grape, cherry, come and get this honey bun. Yummy, yum, baby, not your ordinary lady. Known to drive a nigga crazy, Willy Wonka wanna pay. On the daily, out the hills, or rock my heels, or shake my skittles, soda pop it, watch it sizzle. Man, this chick right here for shizzle. Smoking on the highest drizzle, wanna taste it just a little. Rock my hips and make it wiggle, waving, sipping in the
I like
drizzle.
it when she rock her hips, then wave and sip. She rock her hips, then wave and sip. She rock her hips, she rock her hips, she rock her hips, then wave. I like it when she rock her hips, then wave and sip. She rock her hips, then wave and sip. She rock her hips, she rock her hips, she rock her hips, then wave. I like it when she show me she can rock and roll and drop it to the floor. That's a slow, shout is all pro. That's the way to go. Tell her booty, ooh, we got a nigga glancing every time that ass react. I talk a pretty cat. Gimme that back cat. No ad on the bill. You got me enticed by the way you run them hips. You's a true girl doing all them tricks. That's what's up. I like that shit a lot. Come and holla at us,
A-Town finest, I'm the top-notch glamour chick. Tell me if I throw it at you, baby, can you handle it? Quick to cause it's rushing. If I hate her, wanna run they lip. Step up in the club and have them whispering, goddamn she did. Take it to the bar, hypnotic and Hennessy is on my list. Seductively moving my body, now watch me rock my hips. Take a sip of the goose, I'm looking good and living lavish. Big boy pimping, popping, dipping, now tell me I'm not the baddest.
I walked in the club and she wobbling and shaking. I wanna take her to the house. So my players start breaking in her motherfucking back like a player supposed. Goddamn. gets high, motherfucking
I like it when
goes.
she rock her hips, then wave and sip. She rock her hips, then wave and sip. She rock her hips, she rock her hips, she rock her hips, then wave. I like it when she rock her hips, then wave and sip. She rock her hips, then wave and sip. She rock her hips, she rock her hips, she rock her hips, then wave and sip. Hey, she rock her hips. Told y'all niggas, she rock her hips. We gon' have the whole world rockin'. Hey, 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 hey. I like the way she rock her hips. She rock her hips. We don't did this shit again, man. Hey, 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 crime on. I like M.O.B. the way she rock her hips.
All right, we are back. I am Dr. Harrison Davis,
And I'm Dr. Aisha Dickerson.
and you're listening to Two Therapists and a Microphone on our new network, the NX411 on IBNXradio.com. And we're getting crunk up here in the
We
studio.
are. I need see this when we talk about Argosy, I get real agitated and aggressive. So I have to have I go back to.
So
an
that
old
trap music
Asian-
comes
yeah,
in
it
handy.
does. It calms me down.
Well,
keeps me
I'm
in-
glad it does, because I was getting crunk myself.
You know what? I got a few messages. Other people were getting crunk too.
So today we're talking about for-profit universities, and in particular, we're talking about Argosy University that recently closed a few months ago, and it displaced a number of students and faculty and staff. And Dr. Dickerson was on the faculty at Argosy University, and a lot of us, we're not familiar with it a great deal. But today we're going to talk about what actually happened. We want to hear about Dr. Dickerson's experience at Argosy University. We just heard from one of her students, Whitney, and the impact and how everything was just handed down at the last minute. Can you tell us, how did you find out that you were going to be out of a job?
When you say it like that, you were going to be out of. You know what the thing was? I found out I was going to be out of the job, but didn't realize that apparently I was working for free. I already should have been looking for another job.
What do you mean you were working for free?
So at the end of Argosy, and we'll come back and explain this further, they had us doing a lot of work, finishing up some dissertations for students who were close to finishing already.
Okay.
We would usually get paid for those. We were already teaching extra classes. Because,
Overloads.
Yes. We were teaching overloads because when other faculty started leaving, they didn't hire new faculty because they were trying to save money. They weren't letting a lot of adjuncts teach classes because, again, they were trying to save money. A couple of months before they completely shut down, they laid off so many staff that we were doing everything. They
I
laid
remember
off
that.
career services. They laid off admissions. That should have been the biggest red flag. When they got rid of the whole admissions department,
Okay.
that means that they weren't bringing anybody else in. But what they told us was that we would start to do the admissions. They would just tell us how to, but they didn't do that. They weren't bringing anybody else in. So we were doing all of those jobs, teaching all of those classes, and long story short, we didn't get a last paycheck. I still have not received my final paycheck. No.
Wow, for like a whole month or half a month?
Half a month, but not just half a month, not just your regular half month pay, but half a month plus all the pay for dissertations and all the pay for
The
those
extra work, the
overloads and,
overload.
yeah. Well, we were working really hard, and our president of the campus, our vice president, told us we made sure that y'all were going to get paid for those things. We really fought for that, and we made sure that they approved that, so you will get that pay.
More promises.
We didn't get paid. Now, when Mark DeTore came on, when we didn't get paid, the plan was that they would pay student workers. It was going to be a 3-tier plan, and this was the stuff he turned into a federal court system, the Department of Ed.
I remember that.
They were going to pay student workers, and then they would pay faculty, and then they would pay administration, the presidents and all that, because they made so much money that they would be the most difficult to pay. So we got word that student workers got paid. Next, we got word that the president and all the administrators got paid. The people who weren't out there teaching all the classes and doing stuff. Some of them, in fact, they had stopped working a long time ago, but they were still just getting paychecks as a part of their severance. They got paid, and faculty still have not been paid.
Wow, the people doing the work
Mm-hmm.
out there on the front line. So for our audience, if you could just think about your job that you have and imagine the company is coming and telling everyone, we're going to shut down in a month. But we want you to continue working, but you don't actually get paid for that second half of the month. And you're taking on extra responsibilities that other people used to do, and you're expected to get paid for that. So imagine how crunk you would be.
Okay.
You would be just like Dr. Dickerson here. Doing all the extra work,
That's
and
what
they're
I
giving you a
told-
lot of promises, but it's affecting you emotionally and
Yeah.
financially.
Well, so that's what I was telling Ricardo, play some club fight music, because that's how I feel when I talk about.
He found it, too.
Yes, and thank you. We are appreciative of that. So yeah, we were suffering while the students were suffering, but trying to calm the students down.
Mm.
And, you know, it's hard to help someone else stop their bleeding when you're bleeding out as well.
Yeah, trying to keep them comfortable.
I was frustrated. I love my students, but they were sending text messages, which I'm happy to respond to text messages. What are we going to do? What are they? I don't know. I can only tell you what they tell me. And then, they shut the school down. I know. I was there. They shut the school. I don't have my degree and I don't have my paycheck.
Yeah.
But the thing
And
is.
benefits either.
Right. Benefits either. Oh, let's not even get on. No, let's get on benefits. I don't think a lot of people are aware of this. But when we were with EDMC, we had Aetna for our insurance.
Okay.
And then when Dream Center came in, they switched to something called Healthy Joy or something. It was supposed to be like an employer-based insurance program where they paid directly from Dream Center.
Okay.
Turns out that EDMC stopped paying our insurance for Aetna well before they sold to Dream Center.
No.
So I'm around here taking my kids to the doctor for well checks and all of that. Just, here's my insurance. I got Aetna. It's good insurance.
But this is before Dream Center made the
This
decision
was
to
before.
close down.
Yes, they were taking the money out of our paychecks for insurance and not paying Aetna for the insurance.
Oh, wow.
So then Dream Center takes over and they give us this new Healthy Joy thing first off, it was hard to use. They never answered the phone when providers of stuff called, but they said, submit it electronically, we'll pay the stuff. Well, they were still taking the money out of our paychecks and they weren't paying the Healthy Joy people either. So
you were paying for insurance, but you didn't get
paying
it.
for insurance, more money taken out of the last few paychecks that we got, did not have insurance. I have received personally 2 medical bills, one from my doctor and one from my pediatrician. Now, they've been nice enough to, let me explain what happened. One of the, I won't tell which, one of those doctors was like, fine, because this has happened, and I empathize with you, I will have my services pro bono and you just pay for
That's
whatever
nice.
equipment and
It's
stuff.
good to know there are good people still
Right.
out there.
The other doctor was like, we could put you on the payment plan because they still want their money. And I understand that. But so that one got paid. I have colleagues them or their children had surgery. That's a big bill. Those are thousands and thousands of dollars that they are now trying to figure out how to pay by themselves. So essentially, we had not had insurance since December.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But you were still working the spring
I worked
semester.
all the way through March. Yeah, all the way through March without insurance, and
But you paid for it.
I did pay for it.
You were paying a premium.
It came out of every single paycheck, and so I want to know who got the money. Now they're talking about paying us and all of that, but no one has been able to tell us who put the money in the wrong place.
Where did it go?
Right. So let's back up. Whitney didn't mention this probably because she didn't have to experience this because she had a scholarship.
Yeah.
But this thing really got big on the news because students who got their student loans did not get their refund. They call them stipends.
Yeah.
But what it is the refund. Your student loan money pays for all of your tuition and fees, and then whatever's left over, you get that money. And unfortunately, a lot of people
They need it.
if you take out a loan, it's your money and you need it. But some people relied on all of that student loan money to pay all of their bills.
Yeah, to live.
Right.
I remember those days.
I didn't take out enough student loans to fund my life. But that's what happened.
Lucky
For some of
you.
those people, for some of those people, that meant that they couldn't pay their rent.
Yeah.
They couldn't buy food. They were getting evicted. And unfortunately, some of their professors told them, in order to be in this program, you can't work. You need to be
Full-time.
teaching, right? You need to teach classes. You need to do classes. You need to be writing, which is, now that's one thing that was different than a lot of the other universities, is that if they ask you to do that, you expect that you'll have some type of assistantship or fellowship where they're going to be paying you maybe just $20,000 a year, but they're going to be paying you to not work. Instead, some of these professors at Argosy were telling the students, you can't work and you need to take out student loans to take care of all of your living expenses.
Now,
So
do you know, I should have asked Whitney, your student, do you know what was the going rate for tuition for the year at Argosy, that last year or two?
that's a good question. Anyone who is listening, we have a few people watching, and some are from, some of them went to Argosy. If you know how much tuition was at Argosy, let me know. Type it in here. I see someone on here who says, I use my money to help with childcare. That makes sense because you need childcare while you go to school. But you're also expected that you're not going to have to pay any interest on these student loans, and you don't. But if you don't get your refund, that's essentially someone has stolen your money. We still don't know where the money went. Well, I take that back. Mark DeTore says that he's figured out where the money went, but we don't know. Asia says 30,000 at least per
That's what
year
that's what I
or
was
per
thinking.
semester.
I think it's per year.
Okay, well that's a lot.
That's full-time tuition for 2 semesters, fall semester and spring semester. And that's not including the extra expenses that you're talking
Right,
about. Yep.
exactly. The other things that you need in order to be successful, like Asia said, childcare. I have to have someone watching my kids while I'm in school, or especially while if you're in any of these services fields, you're having to do practicum and internship. I need to be doing that during the day, and somebody needs to be taking care of my children. Someone else says tuition was like $950 per credit hour. Yeah.
That's what I'm pulling up now.
Thank you, Harrison. So these students took out these student loans, and all of their tuition and everything was paid, but they never got their refunds because somebody else did something else with the refunds. Not only that, but here's the kicker. Argosy was already under investigation by
The feds.
the feds.
Yep.
So the way the feds set it up was Argosy could not actually get the student loan money until they made sure the credits and stuff went through, and they gave the students the money.
I
They gave
remember
the
seeing
students
that
the
on
money
news.
out of their account. So basically, you had to pay up front, and then the federal government would send you your student loan money. So somebody typed up lies, just fabricated and forged paperwork saying that, yeah, we paid these students, now give us the student loan money. They already got their money, now give us the student loan money.
But that information wasn't true?
It wasn't true.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't true. They just lied just to get the student loan money. Yeah.
Just like they took your insurance premium money,
Right,
too.
right. Just lied and said they did it. So, those students, what's her name? Who's on Trump's administration? Betsy DeVos. I stopped watching the
DeVos.
news because I didn't like to look at her face. But
Some people call her Betsy the devil.
well, she told the students that they would just forgive those student loans after Argosy shut down. It's okay.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, for that money that you didn't get, we can't give you that money. Sorry if you already got put out of your house and everything. But what we will do is take it off of your account so you won't have to pay it back.
Okay.
About 90% of people, so they had to turn in paperwork for that, though. About 90% of the people who turned in that paperwork were denied.
Really?
Yes, and they still don't have their money. Now, here's the next thing about the student loans. If you decided that you did not want to go back to school, you didn't find a program that you felt fit your needs, or they wouldn't take all of your credit hours, all of your student loans are also supposed to be forgiven.
And that was by the federal government, Department of Education?
Yes. They set up all this stuff with these schools to take your credit hours and to help you transfer. And if you had issues transferring, or you decided, you know what, I'm tired of this, I'm just not doing it anymore, then that's fine. You get all of your students, it's like it never happened. You wasted time, but it's like you didn't waste
Like
money.
a hardship withdrawal
Right.
from undergrad.
Again, 90% of those people have been denied.
So lies coming from
Right.
everywhere. The federal government, Argosy University, Dream Center, the people who purchased Argosy University, and all the employees and the students are the ones who are hurting.
Right. In fact, I mean, lies are even coming from these other universities. So let me say, when Argosy shut down, people were coming out like vultures. Come to our school. You started seeing the Facebook ads. We'll take Argosy's credits. Finish your degree here. We're so sorry about what happened to you. Just turn in your transcripts. And they would admit these students to say, okay, we're going to take 18 out of 48 of your credits. And you still need to retake 40 credit hours.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
wasted time and money.
But they lied. They said, we'll take your credits and we will make exceptions for you. So
Are you saying the other schools did not accept 18 semester hours?
some schools, there were some schools who took all the hours. I will say Walden was great.
Okay.
Walden jumped in and
Props to Walden.
Walden helped these students transfer their credits, waived the cost for the first year, not first year, might be first semester. And they hired a lot of Argosy faculty as full-time faculty. It helped Argosy faculty, but it also helped them because they were bringing in all these students and they needed somebody to teach all these students in
Yeah, but
order
they
to
were
stay
rescuing a
accredited.
lot of people.
But we
Yep.
appreciate them. Others, acted like they were going to do what Walden did, and then they did. And then there were others who were so highfalutin, as I call them, that, the students would call and say, well, you're right down the street from me. Would you be willing to maybe let me interview or look at my transcript? And they say, no.
Oh, wow.
We only accept 5 people a year, and you can just get in line next year with the rest of them and try to get in.
Well, I
that's
just
the way.
wanna-
That's the way they
Just
sound.
want
in
to
my
chime
head.
in real quick.
Hey, Ricardo, chime
this
in.
is my experience with Argosy as well, because I was in dissertation and I was in chapter 2, and I was told that, of course, no school was going to take me in dissertation. So either I was going to have to backtrack, take classes to kind of prove that I deserved to be in dissertation in ideology, or either just those 5 or 6 years of my life were just kind of done. And hopefully I can get them, because good old DeVos is not really cooperative. She feels like
At
we
all.
should find other alternatives, even though the government has come down on her and said that she's supposed to. But she's been dragging her feet, so I've been following that story. And she actually wants to give for-profit institutions longer to get it together when stuff like this happens, because she feels like if they were given more time, that they could get it together versus just closing them down. That's her latest bit, because I did it on my show the other
It's
day.
like giving crooks more time to break in your house.
Right.
And
Exactly.
rob something. Doesn't sound like the Department of Education is on the side of the students.
Well, she also feels like it was that, and she felt like they should be less stringent on for-profit schools and allow them to be able to create curriculums for the needs of society without having to answer to so many accrediting bodies. So she's pretty much for business.
Little
not the
oversight.
students.
Right. And so those are the ones. So people have asked me, like, is it worth it for me to apply for a for-profit university? And I would say it depends on the university. Look at what they do. So I work for another for-profit institution, but we are accredited. We have a board and we have scholarship. We'll still write grants and stuff. Might not be, those that nonprofits can get. Our faculty still do service and they're out in the profession. But most importantly, we are accredited. We make sure that we have oversight from someone. There are others that are just like, no, just come to school here. Take all these classes. I have another friend who she wasn't in counseling, and she used to help me a lot with my children. And she had an issue where she was going to school, and when she mentioned to someone where she was going to school, they let her know that she would never be allowed to sit for her board exam because that school wasn't accredited. At a minimum, your school has to, the classes have to mirror what accredited schools have.
Yeah.
Instead, there are people that they just have taken classes just to say that they're in school. And people love to say, I'm in school. They won't do the research.
But being in school costs a lot of money, and you're not making money. You're actually paying money for somebody to train you. That's the ultimate purpose of schools and universities that are out there. And you would hope they would use the money wisely to achieve some of those goals. But what we're hearing today is that Argosy University and Dream Center were not doing a great job at managing the money, and they were dishing out a lot of false promises.
Yeah, you're right. They weren't just mismanaging. Well, let me tell you some of the ways that they were mismanaging the money.
Tell me,
Let's
because
go
I
there.
want to know.
First off, as with many other businesses, the people high up made a lot of money while the people down low weren't making.
That's
whole
higher
lot.
education, too.
Yeah, that's how that works.
State universities are like that,
And
too.
those people who were up there making millions and hundreds of thousands, like I said, they got their last paychecks.
They got it.
And I'm sure one or two of them could have covered 10 of us. But they got their paychecks.
So they took care of management.
They did. Everybody at the top got their money.
But the worker bees,
Oh no, they the worker. And then here's the thing: when they started laying people off, they were laying off all the people who were making like $30,000 and less. That's not going to take care of your deficit. You got to lay off whoever's up there making. Well, they laid off a couple of them too, but not enough.
so
to
you don't
cover the
believe
deficit.
that Argosy was planning on sustaining a Dream Center. You don't believe Dream Center was going to sustain Argosy on a long-term basis.
They could not have. I don't think that they realized that education was set up like other big businesses. They also didn't realize that so many of the higher ups were making salaries that people in corporate America were making. In addition, when EDMC owned Argosy and Art Institute and all those other schools, they had these big buildings and there was a lot of overhead there. So they did start to stop paying for certain floors in Argosy, Atlanta. Like we moved from the second floor to the fourth floor, or the fourth floor to the second floor. Anyway, they closed down a couple of floors and we started sharing offices with other people from other departments.
And that's a sign.
They moved us to the classrooms where the technology wasn't that good because I guess they started paying the building. What's the name of that building? Lakeside something. They started paying them less money and they gave us the rinky-dink classrooms.
I see.
The ones that only fit like 25 students instead of hundreds of students.
Gotcha.
They started canceling a lot of classes. Like some people would have to hold off on moving towards their degree because they had to take breaks because the classes weren't being offered. Because rather than say again that we're going to hire adjuncts or that we're going to pay the professors overload, we'll just cancel this class and y'all can
Wow.
just take it whenever.
For a
you get ready
university
to
that
teach
was
it.
really designed to make it convenient.
Yes.
For working adults with families and careers to go get that extra degree and training, they were actually making it tough for them to actually finish. So I just pulled up, want to just point out to the audience, not all for-profit universities are the same, and some are actually doing extremely well. And something happened recently last year, 2018, Purdue University purchased Kaplan University. Yes, they did. So now it's part of a much larger, established, traditional university because Purdue, like a lot of other universities, saw the value in offering degrees that were convenient and online. It was an automatic system where they had online degrees already set up. I just talked to some administrators at my university in North Georgia about offering more online courses, making it easier for working adults as that population has grown in size. So there's a reason and a purpose for these for-profit universities, and some of the other traditional universities are seeing the value in it. But in the end, it left you and a lot of students out there in the wind trying to figure out things on their own. Now, I heard you talk about some of the details of what happened, but what's been that personal impact on you?
I think I am a lot less trusting regardless of where I go. I am.
Of your employer?
Yes. I have some great people that I work with now, but I'm always listening out for, are you going to get rid of me? Well, I take that. It also makes me more helpful Do y'all need help with admissions? Do you need what? I'm out there dancing. Don't
I see.
fire me. I can't lose another job. But it just.
I noticed you're doing a lot of workshops too.
Right.
And speaking engagements.
So that's another thing. I had to learn never, ever to have one source of income.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that one source being gone was a big issue. So I started doing more workshops. I started doing more supervision. I need to make sure that if something else goes wrong here, I can take care of me and my kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you got responsibility.
Okay.
You got mouths to feed.
Right.
As my relatives would say.
And the business does not care about the mouths in my house. They don't care about me having heat when this cold snap comes through. And when I lost that job, we'll talk about some of the other adjustments that I had to make. And we'll talk about how me and some of the other people that I know have moved forward since then. So keep listening to Two Therapists and a Microphone. We will be back soon. Thank you. And thanks for everyone with their comments also. We're going to come back and read some of your comments and stuff in a minute. Back to Two Therapists and a Microphone. We're about to wrap this thing up, but I do want to thank you all for the comments that you've had. I said I was going to let you know a little bit more about how things have progressed since then. Some of your instructors have gone to different universities the same way the students have. Some of us have decided to stay out of academia the same way some students decided that they didn't want to go to school anymore. Some of us had to seek government benefits, including unemployment. But anybody who had unemployment, that unemployment has run out now, and they may still be looking for jobs. But we've had to adjust accordingly, same way students have. So let that be the lesson. Stay on ready and adjust as necessary.
Absolutely. And Aisha, thank you for sharing your story
Thank
about
you.
your experiences at Argosy University. This was great talking about it, and for others to know how you came out on top. You know,
Thank you.
you didn't sit still and let things fade away.
No time for that.
So, guys, thank you for joining us today on Two Therapists and a Microphone. We're on a new network, the NX411 on IBNXradio.com, and we will see you guys next time. I'm Dr. Harrison Davis.
And I'm Dr. Aisha Dickerson.
We'll see you guys next time.
Out at www.2therapists, that's TWO therapists with an S.com, or link up with us on Facebook. Just search for Two Therapists.
And I'm Dr. Harrison Davis.
I'm Dr. Aisha Dickerson.